Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice Podcast. My name is Elle, and I am back again to read some Law of One material and share with you my opinions on the matter. So, I was having a little bit of trouble trying to come up with what to talk about on today's podcast, and as I look out at the world and my current experience, I can only see a lot of turbulence going on and a lot of fun and exciting and crazy things happening in our world. So I suppose I thought I would just take the time to try to explain to you just some things that I'm seeing. Maybe you see them already, maybe you don't, but that's the whole point of just talking about this. So what I wanted to focus on, I guess, today is how, I don't know, I'm having trouble figuring out how to say this, but how they are attacking our roots, let's say. Who are they? Well, I don't know. It's sort of like a spiritual war, if you will, that we are in, or a battle, or whatever you want to call it. But there's forces for good and forces who want to serve themselves, and I sort of just see some of the trickery that's going on in terms of manipulating, well-intentioned people to, I suppose, to attack their roots, to basically take them from their heart and move them down somewhere lower. Instead of hanging out in their heart chakra, love, acceptance, understanding, compassion for other selves, trying to understand other selves, you see a lot of tribalism and turning against each other. So I guess that's sort of what I wanted to talk about, is how we are sort of having our roots attacked, and maybe now more than ever, it's most important to keep that in mind, because this, from a spiritual perspective, is their intent to have you not in your heart. Whereas on the surface of things, you may think that it's to do with some sort of physical thing or event that's happening, but those things are only happening to try to get you to stay out of your heart. Right? So my whole opinion here is that the harder they try to get you to stay out of your heart, probably the more that you should be wise to what's going on, and just trying your best to, stay balanced and in a position of acceptance and understanding, so that you do not go down into the lower chakras and hang out there for too long. Okay, so that is sort of the idea of what I wanted to speak about, and I found a quote from Ra that is somewhat in relation to this. And if you listen carefully to this quote, you'll see that they're actually going through each chakra when they're explaining what they're explaining. So I think of chakras somewhat as filters of perception. There are many things that you can describe them as, but that one always seemed a bit apt to me, in that you have experience that comes your way, and as experience comes your way, you react to it. And you react to it based on what chakra it hits first, and the chakras are Roiji Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So the red chakra is always the first chakra to react to any experience. And what is life but to survive, right? So your first chakra is red. It's about survival. And therefore, every experience that comes your way is, you basically see it through a filter of perception of, how do I use this to survive? Or how do I not die, for example, right? Okay, and then you would, if you're feeling comfortable and safe in one area, you move it up to the next chakra. But anyways, that's what they're going to speak about here. So just keep in mind, after they speak of survival, that's the red chakra, and then they're going to move into orange, which is personal, etc. Okay, so here we go. Raw quote is from session 49.6. And this is a subsection of an answer that I have pulled, so it's not the complete everything, but this goes good enough for what I want to explain to you guys here. So, all right, 49.6 quote begins: experience, whatever it may be, will be seated in red ray and considered as to its survival content, and so forth. Each experience will be sequentially understood by the growing and seeking mind-body-spirit complex in terms of survival, then in terms of personal identity, then in terms of social relations, then in terms of universal love, then in terms of how the experience may beget free communication, then in terms of how the experience may be linked to universal energies, and finally in terms of the sacramental nature of each experience. End of quote. Ra, The Law of One, session 49.6. Okay, so there you go, right? Pretty short one today, pretty short and sweet, and you see that they're walking through each chakra. So because I've already explained that, let's just go through them here again briefly, and I'll just point them out a little easier. I'll reread this. So each experience will be sequentially understood by the groin and seeking mind, body, spirit complex in terms of survival. So that's your first red chakra. Then in terms of personal identity, that's the orange chakra. Then in terms of social relations, that's the yellow chakra. Then in terms of universal love, that is the green heart chakra. Then in terms of how the experience may beget free communication, that is the blue throat chakra. Then in terms of how the experience may be linked to universal energies, that is the indigo third eye chakra. And finally, in terms of the sacramental nature of each experience, which would be my understanding to be somewhat the violet experience, the violet chakra, the crown. Alrighty, so how do I link this all together? Well, there's a lot to go about. Remember how I said they are attacking our roots. So how would, let's say we have on Earth, we have, sort of spiritual, well, this is a spiritual realm as it is physical, okay? So let's say we have positive and negative entities, so people who are looking to serve others and people who are looking to strictly serve themselves exclusively at the expense of all other selves. That's just the way they see life. So you're going to have these two sort of dynamics playing, where you're going to have some people who are in control in the negative elite and the service to self path who are trying to prevent you from, evolving spiritually, spiritual evolution, which we are in our third density, and so that means we're in our first three chakras, and we're being encouraged to step into the fourth chakra, into the heart chakra. So if somebody was trying to control our planet, if you keep in mind that this service to self people don't use the heart chakra, they purposely think that it's folly, maybe you see how they will do anything to keep you from your heart. And with that, they would just try to get you to any of those lower three chakras, right? So they want you to be either somewhat focused on social relations, personal identity, or survival. The lower down, the better, kind of in their view, in that, the more distorted you are, the more you're not going to be able to put yourself together to bring this earth into the heart chakra and with a community that's loving each other, right? They would rather have our planet be enslaved pretty much through voluntary enslavement, by getting you and us to all go into these lower chakras to the point that we sort of have tribalism and we're fighting against each other because we don't trust and understand each other. And through that chaos that is created, the negative elite control that chaos. It's order out of chaos is their sort of thing. So it's just good to be privy to all this information so that you don't find yourself being a pawn of theirs in this somewhat game, okay? So you can be mad, you can be upset, you can even be somewhat tribalized in your opinions, but if you soften it with the fact that in the truth that the heart is true, which is that other selves' perspectives will be different. They have their free will to think as they will. You can't really do anything except love them, right? There's like this, what is it? You can't change people. You can only love them, basically. That's the lesson here, okay? So, but the negative elite will have you probably thinking that you do need to change people, and then that's where you're getting into red, orange, yellow ray distortions. Okay, so maybe we should just go through how each chakra, how they would get you, well, how they were attacking our roots, right? So I'm not sure if I should start at red or yellow. Let's start from yellow and work our way down. So it'd sort of be like, if you're blocked in your yellow chakra, the third chakra, you're going to be having issues with your community, right? Because what do they explain it here? Social relations. So essentially anybody that you know and are in relationship with, I would suggest that the negatives of this planet very much want to cause disharmony within that. So they'd be like breaking up families and friends, sports groups, teams efforts, maybe getting you to be tribalized in your opinions so that you are not trying to understand another side. You're just taking a side. And there's a difference between taking a side blindly and taking a side but understanding the other side, right? So it's like I could just be service to others in my seeking, but if I didn't understand the service to self path, have I really made a true choice? Or have I just blindly run into what seems to work best or whatever, right? So like a true choice comes from understanding the wider perception of range of choices, and then you choose the finer choice, right? So I guess what I'm saying here is that to assume that someone on the other side of your opinion is an absolute imbecile and you should fight them and they're your enemy, I would suggest that is you've been tricked. You know the best way to do it is just to love other selves the best within your ability, even when they may not be acting in harmony. So we have our whole. I guess I'm not actually saying what I'm trying to go over here, but the last 2 years, right? I guess I want to avoid saying the specific terms and words so as to keep my my channel in good standing, because I know how these things sort of work online. But let's just talk about this briefly, okay? So the last 2 years, what's been happening, right? A lot of change in the world and the way that we live and run things. So in the news, you find that they are definitely trying to tribalize us and have us break into left and right factions and then hate each other. Unfortunately, that is not a good thing, in my opinion, right? It's better to accept others' opinions as different from mine, and I love you. You can do you, and I'm gonna do me, and let's just sort of, well, I don't know, keep your distance, and you can just do as you see fit, and I'm gonna do as I see fit. So, um, you know, being in these, let's say, like like lockdowns and things of that nature, right? I know this maybe sounds like, oh, it was just coincidental that it happened this way, and that's up to you to decide. But, anyways, in terms of locking down and not being able to go and do specific things because of the nature of the time that we're in, that's going to be really hard on your yellow communal chakra, right? You're not going to be able to hang out with family and friends as much. You're not going to be able to go to sports groups. You're not going to be able to go to games and team things and, just hanging out with a wider group of people. And at the same time, right, they're trying to tell you that the other people who think differently from you are your enemy. So there you go. There's your yellow chakra distortion. I would say that's how they're trying to get us to stay in there. So I guess I should give you the how to be positive about it, which I have already stated, but it's just to love all other selves. That's how you unblock the yellow chakra. Just love them. Don't change them, just love them. Okay? So now let's drop down. Say they got you to drop from your yellow chakra, right? So you've gone from your heart, oh no, I love everything, understand, and now I've brought down to all my family and friends are all against me. Oh man, so let's say we've been attacked even further. Now they're coming after you, after your orange chakra, after your personal self. What do they describe it here as in the material, the mind, body, spirit complex, and in terms of personal identity? So they call the orange chakra sort of personal identity, right? So how would that be attacked? Well, I suppose what comes to my mind right away is just gaslighting, right? So I know gaslighting is a word that goes around a lot, and maybe people don't even explain it enough, but it's basically make you feel crazy for things that you know to be true, right? So sort of giving you self-doubt. You see something with your own two eyes and you know this to be true, and yet somebody comes and tells you, no, 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 this isn't what you're seeing. This is what you're seeing. Sort of redefining reality for you, right? So that, to me, is how they attack your orange ray, your personal identity, right? Have you questioning your own intentions, your own motives. Not that that's a bad thing. You should question your intentions and motives, but you shouldn't be gaslit into believing that they are other than what they truly are, okay? Breaking up intimate relationships. So I know that the yellow ray is talking more about communal other selves, but the orange ray, I believe, kind of encompasses maybe the more personal relationship, like if you have like a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, etc., right? Obviously opinions are very strong at this time, in the last couple of years, and definitely a lot of relationships are sort of undergoing that test. And yeah, and honestly, even just sometimes This is that tribalism again. You may feel one way, and your spouse may feel another way. And instead of just them or us being told that, hey, it's okay to have different opinions, but we should still just focus on loving each other and making it to the heart. That's not what our media is trying to get us to do, right? Trying to pit us against each other. Oh, that person's wrong, and you need to do something about it. You need to make them think. You need to whatever, it's all BS, man. It's silly. This is what's going on here. Sorry, I get a little pessimistic sometimes when I think of all this stuff. Okay, so that's how they would sort of attack the orange ray, attack your identity, right? How about that? Even smear your identity, right? You have intentions to be good, loving person, and somebody comes out and calls you the lowest form of person, right? Like racist, misogynist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So there you go, attack your identity, right? And then what do they come after, really, right? What are they really coming after? Because they want you to be in the most lowest state possible, because people are evil. Your red ray, right? So the very lowest ray, how would it feel to be attacked there? Well, let me tell you, it's not very nice. So to say this in my own sort of self-censored version, right, I have a choice to make a decision about taking something, right, into my body, which I'm sure you're aware of, and I have the choice to not do it. Now, I live in a country, Canada, who has made a certain, they're going about making it a mandate, meaning like you have to do it. So, federally regulated mandate, meaning I have to do this or I will lose my job, and I will probably lose the house that I live in and not be able to buy food. I know I'm being a little overkill in this, but really, right? That is what's happening. It's like I basically am here, and they're saying, look, you either do as we say, even though you may have other reasons, which may actually be justified, but you know what? We don't care. You do this, or you lose your job, or good luck buying food, or how about this? Even in my country right now, they'll come after your bank account even. So, right, attacking just the lowest portion that they can of you to get you out of your heart and just focused on survival, or just the lowest animalistic version of yourself. So I suppose my whole point in this podcast is to just be aware that that is what they're purposely trying to do. You are justified in being mad. You are correct to be upset. But that's what they also want you to do. They want you to be stuck in those negative emotions, in those unhelpful emotions. So reminding ourselves that all experience and all experience is catalyst for our growth and our awakening. It's good to know that when these things are happening to you in your life, recognize them, but don't sit in self-pity and ruminate and keep going over these things over and over and over and over again and not doing anything positive with them, right? I've talked about in previous podcasts how to move the energy up, right? So assuming then, I guess, like if you're to do like a meditation to be like, okay, well, how am I going to get feeling good in all these areas? Well, it's not just like you can just meditate and feel good about these things. You have to live your life every day in this way that makes you move from survival up to your personal, up to social, and finally, if you're feeling comfortable and okay and not completely distorted and chaotic energy in all those three centers, then you move that energy up into the heart, into understanding other selves, loving them, compassion. And I would suggest that as we are moving from our third density to the fourth density right now, that's the whole point of the nature of our experience, is to find our way to the heart. These are all lessons of love. Like I say, you are justified in feeling upset, and so be it. If you need to hang out in the lower chakras for a little bit, don't be hard on yourself, but just recognize that you go down there just for a moment, right, to sort of regroup, and then you can move back up into the heart. And it's not easy to stay in the heart. So I'm not trying to say like be perfect and live in your heart constantly. It's just mostly just to be aware that the spiritual nature of reality, and that these things are happening where you may not recognize that these specific things are happening to attack those sort of lower chakras. It sort of doesn't matter. I guess here's something to remind yourself of. In the raw material, they state that the negative entity essentially just seeks to take you away from service in any form. They don't care whether it's just to distract you or to implant misinformation within you or to remove you from this experience. All they care about is just to get you out of service, get you away from the heart, get you away from service to others. If they've done that, they've succeeded in controlling you. So, right, they give you many great reasons why you should be mad, why you should be justified, why you should hang out in those lower chakras. But ultimately, it's your duty and your honor and responsibility to take those things, to work with them within you, accept and love, and move them up to the heart where the experience is. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just this is more true, I suppose, right? It's just like what we're trying to do. It's the end goal. So I think that is good enough for today. I think I have given enough explanation and rambling to have you sort of make sense of what I'm getting at here. And yeah, I really like doing these podcasts. So thank you guys for listening. If you appreciate my service, I appreciate if you could support me, as I explained that I may be losing my job eventually. So I would like to move into more online things, free of a corporation, free of outside forces, right? And yeah, so if you guys wanted to join my Patreon, shoot me a one-time PayPal donation. All those things help immensely. Really helps my lower chakras. Right? Because I say, like, I'm human, and although I currently do have a job, it's just that, like, knowing any time that, like, every single time I get an email, for example, at work, I'm wondering, is this the email that says, like, hey, you've only got 2 weeks left here? So I do feel a little bit attacked in the lower rays, and I'm trying my best to move them up and to move forward, right? So I could sit here in pity and sorrow and be like, how dare they? This is so rude. I'm a victim of circumstance, and to a certain degree I am. However, how am I moving that energy up into the heart and moving it forward from survival to orange to communal? Well, I'm trying to push forward, right? I've said, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a podcast. I made an online shop. I am looking into doing like coaching through this online thing, like spiritual coaching. So I'm, instead of just being a victim of circumstance, I'm thinking, hey, how can I move forward, right? So this is kind of what I'm suggesting you to do. I'm trying to move into service, and yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'll just explain that because they're related to each other. So anyways, if you'd like to join my Patreon, extremely appreciate it. Really appreciate getting little donations. No big deal. I'm sure everyone's sick of hearing me ask for this. So I'll shorten those things up. You can get all these links at theoneinfinitecreator.com. And there are links to all of this information for free from LL Research, the lovely folks who give all of this information to us for free. And same goes, they have their own little thing going on over there. And, if you feel you want to support them too, please do. I like to always give them a shout out since they are so polite in letting me read this material and share it with all of you guys in the way that I do. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I will be back later this week with another podcast. Probably on Friday would be the plan. So take care, you guys.